All right. So we have completed chapter 1 and chapter 2. I provided a summary of both the chapters and requested you to go through the summaries. And if you like, you can write in your own language. Although it was not a homework, but it appears to me some of you have taken it as a homework, which is a good, welcome thing. Some of you have also shared by email your own take on chapter 1 and chapter 2 of Keno Upanishad. If any one of you are interested in sharing your take on chapter 1 and chapter 2, or after going through the summaries, if you have any new idea has flashed in your mind, you got a new insight, you are welcome to share. Or you have found some new light, anything, you are welcome to share about the first two chapters of Keno Upanishad. All right. It appears nobody wants to.
I will, Swami.
Okay, go ahead, Betty.
This text is a reflection on what characterizes human beings. It's a reflection on our essence, our true nature, the core power behind everything we perceive, think, and do. In order to gain this understanding of ourselves, we must turn inward and reflect on what is changeless in us, what remains constant throughout our lifetime and even throughout our day, and that it is consciousness, our ability for awareness, our ability to witness people, objects, and events in our lives. This characteristic is true of all others, as it is for ourselves. It is universal. It is also permanent. It has always existed and will continue to exist. It is all pervasive and infinite and present in everyone. It was never born and it never dies. Once we recognize this, we no longer identify with the mundane in our lives and can experience true joy.
Thank you.
There was a lot more, but I was writing this for someone who's just beginning to be exposed to the concepts of Vedanta.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you so much. All right.
I can share, Swami.
Yes, Victoria.
Okay. I would say that mine is for a person that is a little bit more than just a beginner, but maybe a person that's more drawn to the jnani type or the intellectual type of understanding. So, and I tried to answer some of the questions that you asked, but I added some of my own. Okay, this mysterious entity is difficult to point out because descriptions are done in duality with the senses and mind. And the way that we experience the divine is through our hearts and minds, or our heart mind. I'm not sure how to say that. It is different from the body and mind. It is found within the heart mind, just as we experience love as invisible and within the heart mind. It is within the invisible subtle body, which is accessed through the heart center. Just as in the universe, there is not 1 meter of space that is not filled with consciousness. All things, including planets and people and buildings, are objects within that consciousness. If we look at the mind on a smaller scale from the universe, it is a space filled with things. The space is consciousness. The things are the thoughts. If one can still oneself and calm the mind a little and find oneself in a moment without thoughts, and then try to catch a thought coming in, one can see that one was the witness within that space of consciousness before the thought came in. And if, when in that moment we ask, what is this that I am in? Is this emptiness? Then we could answer, no, it is consciousness, that I am within consciousness. And later, when we understand consciousness deeper, we will see that consciousness is pure love, pure peace, and pure joy. We just can't experience that yet, but it is there, and we all must have faith. That experience of wondrous joy and the completeness of perfect love is there as consciousness, just waiting for us. Consciousness is not known or unknown. It is experienced. When one is experiencing it, that awareness is felt as beingness or isness that is happening in the eternal now. And we say it is vast. It really is the experience of everywhereness, allness or everywhereness.
Very good term.
When one experiences oneself as the beloved divine self-existent being, the life that we are living now seems mundane. Surely it is more peaceful and more filled with love. It doesn't mean that that life is no longer valuable. It is that one knows that there is a secret, and that secret is true life, a wondrous life that is awaiting for them. But this current life then becomes filled with greater meaning and greater purpose. Perhaps you feel the desire to waste no time in further developing one's spiritual abilities, or if the Spirit guides us, perhaps in teaching others. The most powerful awareness that one might have regarding this is that worshiping and adoring the beloved divine is the highest meaning of life. Okay, I think the description of Atma being realized when it is recognized in every cognition might be trying to describe what happens when a person awakens to consciousness. This happens sometime before realization. Perhaps this is trying to describe when a person's mind becomes very concentrated and they awaken to the awareness that they are now the witness within, and they are witnessing as consciousness itself. This does allow power to build within us, the power to more deeply concentrate the mind deeper into the heart center. And this is critical to opening the heart, because when the heart is open, the holy river or the Kundalini can rise to its fulfillment, and divinity meets us and reveals the wondrous gift of realization. During self-realization, there is no awareness that time has ever existed, and that experience is one of immortality. Okay.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yes, it appears you gave a lot of thought on the mantras, and how you put it into words shows that you really spent a lot of time with the thoughts. So thank you so much. I loved the term. I have not heard it before. Everywhereness. This is the term you used for all-pervasive consciousness. I love the term. Anyone else? It need not be the entire Upanishad. just any new idea or new light you got about the Upanishad?
Did you get me?
Yes, Rick, go ahead.
I just wanted to share. Victoria used
Mm,
spoke like this,
mm,
but I've had this thought lately that Atma and the cognition, it's not when we cognize something, it's the power of the cognition itself.
mm,
Atma is the power of the cognition.
mm,
The end result is the end result, but it's it says in the Christian book, and the word of God occurred to me.
mm,
And I was wondering, how can it occur? And then they talk about the Bible as being the word, right?
mm,
Well, how did the word of God occur before the Bible?
mm,
Because these prophets are before the Bible. And what it is, what I think it is that it is the very cognition itself
mm,
is the word of God.
mm,
The mechanics, is the and the storehouse, the database from which it cognizes is the absolute. So it's on off, on off, on off, and it cognizes and stops and cognizes and stops. And we are its cognition. We are its cognition. And then we have to recognize. We have to go back and experience that original cognition. And this is what I heard in Victoria's talk, is that we're searching, and we are the end of the search, because we are the product of that cognition. Anyway, I don't know if that makes sense, but anyway, I thought the girls did a great job.
Yes, so did you. So did you. Thank you so much.
I have a quick comment to make.
Yes.
I really, so I have not read, I did not read the Upanishad part 1 or 2, but I really liked Victoria's take on it, or summary. And I felt that I understood everything that she said. And I really enjoyed that part, but almost instantaneously, there was a part of me that felt a little bit sad, because the question came up that I understand this so much, but I suppose the reason why I'm here or starting this search is this question came up to me that really hasn't come up before, is with the knowledge of non-duality, how do I live my life in duality? And I suppose that is what is that whole journey, I guess. So
Yes. Victoria touched upon that. Yes. Anyone else? Paul, I think you want to say yes. Paul, go ahead.
So I was thinking about the part where the teacher says to the student, know that to be Brahman and not, or know that to be the absolute and not the symbol that men worship. You know, and that refrain is repeated a few times. So that got me kind of thinking about the differences between Jnana Yoga and Bhakti Yoga. And I recalled something from Edwin Bryant's introduction in his Bhakti Yoga book, where he says that, you know, the Bhakta is not necessarily unaware of the absolute, or, you know, outside the sphere of the absolute. It is simply that they prefer the symbol, you know, the Vishnu or the Leela or whatever.
Right.
And so that would like kind of contrast a little bit with what the teacher says to the student: don't worship the symbol. You know, I think that advice should be like qualified to distinguish between those who idolize a symbol versus those who understand the absolute and choose to worship it as a in the symbolic form.
Right, right. Indeed, it's a good point you have brought out that bhaktas, bhaktas, even they know, suppose that this is symbols we are worshipping, they want to be perfectly happy with the symbols. Okay. And it is not to minimize or it is not inferior. But what the teacher was, I think trying to draw attention of the student because the student started with their own self. Who is the one who drives our own being, right? So the teacher took this opportunity to draw attention to the student what you were seeking, that is what you were asking about, this entity, mysterious entity which drives us, is also vast. So so long so long you might have thought that these devas, Agni, Vayu, Varuna, they are the vast or they are the highest, but all of them are representative of that vastness. This is what the teacher wanted to draw attention to. It is the eulogy. Sometimes eulogy appears that eulogy is always like this. It will appear that this is the best. Eulogy always say that this is the best thing to do. As we saw in Narada Bhakti Sutra, right? Narada says that this is the best, this is the easiest path, and Jnana Yoga is difficult and all those things. So in this context, the teacher wanted to eulogize this inquiry, this self-inquiry. And so it appeared that the symbols and images, these are of lesser value. But eulogy is for eulogy, right? But thank you for bringing that uh, concept or seeing it from that light. Thank you. All right. It was not a task, but just people, some of you shared, and thank you. Thank you for doing that. All right. So we have completed chapter 1 and chapter 2 of the Kena Upanishad. It said that senses, the mind, the ego are not self-sufficient entities. All of them point to a supreme reality which is beyond them. And this reality, called Atma in Sanskrit, is the real essence in all of us. And this Atma is difficult to grasp because it cannot be known like other objects. And for that same reason, it is difficult to convey to others. Only pointers can be given about it. If we can realize the Atma, then there is great reward, knowing this realization will make us appreciate the fact that we are vast, we are not limited. And this spiritual entity is one and the same in all beings. And finally, the last verse said, realization of this truth is liberating. Knowing that I am one with the entire existence, I am one with all the beings, is truly liberating. Truly liberating. Now, to illustrate the above teachings, Upanishad tells us a fascinating story. Upanishad does not speak much stories, only a few places we find stories, and the stories always serve a purpose. After teaching something, uh, the teacher or the Upanishad itself alludes to a story of yore, a well-known or ancient story to illustrate some of the teachings. So does Keno Upanishad. All the mantras of third chapter, there are 12 mantras in third chapter, as well as the first three mantras of the last, that is fourth chapter, are all related to this story. And this story is allegorical. There are several hidden messages in them. What we shall do today is look the 12 verses, not the Sanskrit ones, only the meanings of the verses, and try to find out the essence or some deeper meanings or symbolism hidden in, might be hidden in these mantras. And after that, in our next class, we shall try to find out the several messages which this story might have to offer to us. Okay, so today we shall take the story, and as we go through the mantras, some of the explanation of some of the terminologies and some hidden meaning in the mantras. And in the next class, the hidden message of the entire story. Okay, so today we shall do something which we have never done. Guess what? We shall cover 12 mantras that we have never done. All right. And I will upload all the translation of the mantras in the shared docs. There is not much hermeneutics needed in these mantras because these are straightforward. There is not much need of or art of interpretation in them, so they are straightforward. So I am not going through the Sanskrit and word by word meaning. I shall post them into the doc. Okay. So what is the story like? So there happened to be a mythical battle between the forces of evil and forces of good, which is an eternal battle. All the mythologies, very now and then, there is this mention of a war between the evil forces and good forces. The good forces is called Deva. The good ones, Deva. Deva word has come from the root Deep. Deep means shining ones. The shining ones, bright ones, not literally, but because of their knowledge or because of their shining, illuminating nature. And evil asuras are practically, in terms of gunas, we may say, very tamasic, whose main tendency is to enjoy by any means. And if that entails killing others or harming others, they don't care. So this is what devas and asuras. Okay. So the first mantra says that Brahma. Brahma means Brahman. Okay. We shall call it Brahma. That is this essence, substratum of this entire existence, which in our individual level we are calling is Atma, the one undivided, pure Sat Chit Ananda. That Brahma obtained a victory for the Devas. Though the victory was really due to Brahma, the Devas became elated by it. And they thought this is our victory. This is our glory. Devas, the shining ones, forces of light, we can compare it to our sattvic nature, the sattvic part of us, the better part of us, okay, the wise part of us, that can be compared to the devas. As I told, in Upanishad, always there is a parallel called the macrocosm and microcosm. Macro is the cosmic and microcosm is individual. Everywhere, now and then, even in this Upanishad, we shall see, after telling this story, the Upanishad will say this story is for meditation. Why? Because this story, which appears to be, a cosmic phenomenon, a war between the gods and the evils, is actually has also a individual counterpart, an individual counterpart. So this story is actually a vidya. A vidya. Vidya means a technical thing. Vidya means a kind of upasana. Upasana means um, a particular way of doing meditation. And these are mystical things, very mystical things. Upanishad very often mentions about different types of upasana. For example, one upasana is Ashwamedha upasana. That is, think about a horse and meditate on the different parts of the horse. And finally, connect that horse to this cosmic phenomenon going on. So these are symbolic, very mystic, particular kind of meditation and spiritual practice. So Upanishad will tell that this story is actually a upasana. We shall see that later on. So, so Devas, the forces of light, the gods, the shining ones, may suggest our sattvic nature, the better part of us. And asuras, the forces of darkness, our tamasic and rajasic nature. And the battle between instinct and higher values are constant. Constant. It is a, we may say very broadly, it's a war or battle between materialism and spirituality going on all the time. And in Freudian terms, it's a battle between superego and id. Superego and id. That superego is the values that we aspire. Id is our instincts, our pleasure principles. So this kind of war is probably going on all the time within us. Okay. Materialism, Isha Upanishad said, mantra third, Asurya namate loka andheno tamasaprita tamste petta vigachanti yeke. Those who don't seek, try to know their spiritual nature, they, as it were, go or they continue to live in a world of darkness. Asurya, namate loka. Asur, Asur, this dark materialism. So just, referring to Isha Upanishad. So the mantra says Brahma obtained a victory for the Devas. So Brahma here may suggest our Atma, the innermost core. Okay. Innermost core. Because of that, our sattvic nature sometimes are able to win over our tamasic nature because of the presence of Atma. Now, the Devas representing our sattvic nature got elated and had a pride, started feeling a pride that we have won. This victory belongs to us. This is our glory. It might represent that, as a spiritual seeker progresses in spiritual life, one thing is evident, more and more they become sattvic. All the sattvic qualities, like a cheerfulness, like joy, like compassion, feeling for others, and being less and less attached to material things. These are sattvic qualities. These qualities develop as a spiritual seeker progress. And what happens in every seeker's life, they become happy and satisfied with their this change or progress, which is good thing. But they may also become complacent, and they may start thinking, look, I have become sattvic. I have become sattvic. So, and that is the last frontier for a spiritual seeker to conquer. What is that last frontier? As soon as we start thinking that we have become sattvic, then others, a holier than thou, I am holier than thou attitude might creep into our mind without our knowledge. This is such a um, very natural thing, and it is such a unfortunate thing, but it is inevitable, and that is the last thing to conquer. Into Sri Ramakrishna gave a wonderful illustration about three robbers. Does anyone remember that story? Three robbers, to represent the three gunas. Okay, in brief, it is this: a merchant with valuable things were passing through a forest, and he was alone. Then three robbers caught him. One of the robbers told, let us kill this guy and take all the possessions. One of them said, why to kill? Just tie him up on a tree. We don't need to kill. So they tied him up and went away with all the possessions, valuables. At night, one of the robbers came back and set him free and took him to the edge of the forest and said, look, there is the city you are going to. Then the merchant said, I am thankful to you for releasing me, saving my life. Would you please come with me, accompany me, so that I can reward you? Then the robber said, no, I am a robber. If I go to the city, the police will recognize me. This is my limitation. I cannot go beyond this edge of the forest. Sri Ramakrishna said that the robber who suggested, let us kill, represent our tamasic nature, which is dark. One who tied the man up is our rajasic nature. That is, rajas is activity which sometimes binds us in things, in activities too much. And sattva is that person robber who came and set us free. But even sattva has limitation. One has to go beyond all the three gunas, influence of all the three gunas, to really be totally free. So sattvic, when we spiritually progress and we see real, palpable, or tangible progress, and seeing these sattvic qualities in us, we may think we are holier than thou. I am more spiritual than you. That is the pride of the devas this story may refer to. Because if we take Upanishad to be true, whatever is happening, whatever happening inside is all due to the presence of that Satchidananda Atma. So we personally need not be arrogant, spiritually arrogant, or proud about our spiritual achievements. That is probably what the uh, story is trying to tell us. That then rest of the story is how to conquer the spiritual pride, how to conquer the spiritual pride, or how this spiritual pride is broken, how the spiritual pride is destroyed by a plan of nature, so that we can conquer the last frontier in our spiritual journey. It happens, we shall see in the next mantra, and how one can finally realize the innermost self, the true self of us. That is probably what the story is telling us. Then the second mantra, the first mantra is there was a battle, Brahma made the Devas victorious, but the Devas thought it is we who have got the victory. Then Brahma came to know their vanity. Brahma appeared before the Devas in the form of Yaksha, a venerable, effulgent, mysterious being. And the Devas could not understand who this mysterious, effulgent being was. So Brahma understood the spiritual arrogance of the Devas. And Brahma wanted to teach the Devas a lesson so that they can overcome their spiritual pride, which is actually standing in their way to the final realization. So, in the life of an advanced spiritual seeker, things happen which challenge their spiritual pride. It might come in different forms. One is very well known. Advanced spiritual seekers, like our gurus, they can understand this spiritual pride in us. So they can bring us to our senses by scolding, scolding or teaching us different lessons. Not only scolding, scolding is not the only method. There may be different other lessons to break our spiritual pride. Or when we find that we have reached a spiritual plateau, that is, we have progressed over the time, but progress is now seem to be flat. We need now a kind of quantum leap. Those, if we, sometimes we think about it and may come back to our senses that probably we are becoming, we were so long complacent about our journey. We thought we have reached a comfortable state in our spiritual life. So that also can challenge our spiritual pride. Or sudden revelation. It may come, the challenge may come as a sudden revelation. It is, as it were, a part of the divine plan to help the seeker advance further and reach the final state of self-realization. Okay, so Brahman also thought this devas representing our sattvic nature needs to be taught a lesson. So it appeared as Yaksha, a mysterious being. Yaksha literally means a mysterious something. Mysterious something. Now, remember, just I am trying to, connect. The student in the first verse asked, what is the mysterious being in us which drives us? What is the mysterious being? Here, Brahman too is appearing as a mysterious being. Okay, so what does it may suggest? The abstract, formless, attributeless, descriptionless Brahman can appear as a venerable being, to teach humanity spiritual lessons. That is what we call in our parlor, we call it divine incarnations. Divine incarnations. The same Satchidananda, infinite power, takes some human form, extraordinary form, and to teach us lessons. So Brahma, to teach lessons to the Devas, appeared as a venerable, mysterious, effulgent being called Yaksha, which surprised the Devas. They wanted to know who this effulgent, venerable being is. So in mantra number 3.3, all the Devas approached Agni, the god of fire. They said, "O Jata Veda." Another name of Agni is Jata Veda, which means who knows everything, that has been born. Jata means born. Veda means known. Veda means one who knows. One who knows everything that has been born is called Jata Veda. So Agni was kind of almost omniscient. So the Devas address Agni, "O Jata Veda, please find out who this Yaksha is." And Agni immediately said, "Yes, sure, I will go." So Agni thought, it is no big deal. I'll go and find out who this mysterious being is. So Agni, next mantra 4. Agni hastened to Yaksha and asked, Yaksha then asked Agni, "Who are you?" Agni replies, "I am Agni. I am also known as Jata Veda. I am also known as Jata Veda." From this statement, it is quite evident that Agni had a pride. I know everything, right? Because the Yaksha asks the simple question, "Who you are?" Agni says, "I am Agni, the omniscient." From this reply, it is evident Agni was proud about this, this special capacity that it knew it was almost omniscient. Okay, so there was pride in its reply. So, but Yaksha was not impressed. Yaksha said in the next mantra, "Okay, what power do you have?" Agni said, "I can burn everything, whatever there is on this earth. This is my power. I can burn everything." Interestingly, Agni, in many Upanishads, Agni has been equated with our power of speech. Agni is called the presiding deity of speech. Each of our functions, as it were, has a presiding deity, a force. Agni is called to be the power of our speech. So Agni, when says, "I can burn everything," does it mean that we can literally start fire with our words? With our words? And that's what we see very much, that we can ignite a fire with our speech, wrong types of speech. Is that Agni what referring to? So I can burn everything, whatever there is on this earth. The next mantra, Yaksha placed a straw of grass before Agni. And straw of grass, it's kind of, it's a child's play, one who can burn everything. I just give a bunch of grass. That too, dried, not too green. It's a dried branch, bunch of grass. Yaksha places before Agni and says, okay, burn it. Agni tries its best, but it cannot. And Agni feels humiliated that it could not burn even a bunch of grass, dried grass. So it immediately withdrew, and it felt so much humiliated that it did not even stay there to have further conversation about with the Yaksha. Agni's purpose was to find out who this Yaksha is, to ascertain who this Yaksha is. But he felt so humiliated, he did not even uh, dare to stay or did not want to stay. Immediately went back to the God's assembly of gods and said, I could not ascertain who this mysterious being is. So then the gods decided what to do. They decided to send the next person. Who was that? Bayu, the god of air. And in the some of the Upanishads, Bayu is compared to our mind. Bayu is said to be the presiding deity of our mind. So it might suggest that whenever a new thing comes, we first try to, verbalize it through word, try to speak about it. When we cannot, then we start thinking, pondering about it. Then mind, mind becomes active when speech probably or our verbal capacity failed. So parallelly, the gods decided, let us send the next, that is Bayu, the god of air. They at mantra 3.7, then they address Bayu. Oh Bayu, please ascertain this, who this Yaksha is. Bayu said, sure. And Bayu went. As I said, Bayu is compared to presiding deity of mind. Bayu also went to Yaksha. Yaksha asked, who are you? Bayu replied, I am Bayu. I am also known as Matarishwa. Matarishwa. So Matari means in space. Shwa, it means one who can move. That is a space traveler, one who moves freely everywhere. That is Bayu, air. So even again, from this reply, we can totally understand Bayu, air, the god of air, also was proud. This pride shows when someone asks someone your name, and in addition to your name, you are too quick to uh, speak about your special qualities or your um, social status. Okay, it shows the very proud. So here also Vayu was proud. I am space traveler. Again, Yaksha was not impressed. Mantra 3.9, Yaksha said, all right, what power do you have? Vayu replied, I can blow away everything, whatever there is on this earth. And we know this, right? Cyclone, tornadoes. From that, we know that air has tremendous power. It can lift many things. So then, mantra 3.10, then Yaksha placed a straw of grass before Bayu and said, blow this away. Bayu approached it with all speed, but could not blow it. It felt humiliated. It withdrew and returned to the gods and said, I could not ascertain who the Yaksha is. Then the Devas were alarmed. So they did not want any more failed attempt. So they decided the best among them should be sent. They decided to send Indra, their leader, to solve the mystery. Indra is kind of, we may say, CEO of the gods. Okay, CEO of the gods, the chief among the gods. Okay, and in our individual being, Indra is compared to Jivatma. Jivatma means the Atma, the embodied Atma, with whom we are referring to when I say I. Okay, so Jivatma is closest understanding with our present state of mind. The best reading of Atma through our mind is Jivatma. Okay, that is the embodied being, Jivatma. Indra represents Jivatma. So Indra went for the final. He was the final emissary from the gods. So then the gods address Indra, mantra number 11. O Maghavan. Maghavan means mighty one, mighty one. Okay, Maghavan. O Maghavan, please ascertain who this Yaksha is. And Indra said yes and hastened to the Yaksha. But guess what? This time the Yaksha disappeared. Yaksha disappeared. Means it was so much in humiliation that Indra was not given any tasks. Rather, Yaksha did not even care to talk to Indra. So Indra was very much humiliated. But Indra, one great thing about Indra was it did not immediately return. It stayed there. Okay. So Indra was baffled, and very soon this perplexity turned into amazement. Why? Mantra number 12. In that very spot, Indra saw a woman, the exceedingly luminous Uma, the daughter of snow-clad mountain, and to her Indra asked, who could this Yaksha be? Who this Yaksha could be? Okay, so Yaksha disappeared. In that place appeared a exceedingly beautiful, luminous woman whose name was Uma. Okay, Haimavati. Haimavati may mean two things. One is daughter of Himavat. Daughter of Himavat. Himavat means Himalaya, the snow-clad mountain Himalaya. And there is a legend that Himalaya's daughter is Uma, the Parvati. And another meaning of Haimavati is of golden complexion, one with golden hues, golden color. Okay. So, and why exceedingly luminous? Shushabhamanam. The Sanskrit is Shushabhamanam, exceedingly beautiful, exceedingly luminous. Shankaracharya gives a insight here. As we shall see that through Uma, this beautiful lady, Indra will come to know about Brahma, the highest thing to be known. That is the Atma Vidya, Brahma Vidya, the spiritual illumination. So Uma stands for Atma Vidya, spiritual knowledge, which reveals the Brahma to us, which gives us intuitive experience of Atma or spiritual entity. That is why it is the most beautiful. Shankaracharya says, among the all beautiful things, all luminous thing, the spiritual knowledge is the most luminous things, most beautiful thing one can have. That is why Uma, the beautiful woman, here represents the most beautiful of all the knowledge, of all the knowledge. Okay. Who, and to her Indra asked, who this Yaksha is? Uma's reply and Indra's realization and the glory of that knowledge will be told in chapter 4. We shall also see the different possible messages hidden behind the story in the next chapter, starting from chapter 4. Okay, so this is the story in short, and all of you have books. Go, the story is same everywhere. Only some of the significance of the um, what the devas stand for, what the pride stand for. These are maybe missing in the translations, and I will upload the translations within within a day or two. All right. So we shall wait to hear from Uma Himavati, the most beautiful, most exceedingly luminous form, what Yaksha is. Any question? Insight? Idea? Have I not? Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, you can now unmute and ask.
A very captivating story.
Apparently, it does not seem like, apparently, it seems like a very mythological.
So, Swamiji, I have a question regarding that. Like, first Yaksa went to fire, and then fire directed them to air, and air directed to Indra, or like the Yaksha choose by themselves that where I need to go next.
No, Yaksha did not go anywhere. Yaksha was standing.
Oh,
Okay. The gods, the assembly of gods sent one after the another. They first sent Agni. Agni could not return. Then they sent Vayu, air. At last they sent Indra.
Maharaj, is there any significance in that order the gods were sent?
There could be, that as I said, maybe, we try to first figure out everything verbally. Speech is the first thing through which we try to understand things, unknown things. Then a mind goes, and mind also comes back. Then finally, something, an intuitive something, even innermost something. We may say the fine-tuned mind, or the disciplined mind may stand for Indra, who finally got it. And if you remember, everywhere, or even the Mundaka Upanishad, they say the speech cannot understand Atma, and it returns along with mind. Yato vacha nivartante aprapyo manasasaha. From where speech turns back, returns, failing to understand what Atma is. That is, speech cannot, words cannot explain it. And neither can mind. Mind also returned from Atma. Mind cannot grasp it. So Agni speech could not, mind, Vayu could not, Indra also was unable to directly, unless there was the grace of Uma, the spiritual knowledge, to reveal what Brahma or Atma is. This could be significant. This could be this could be the possible allegorical meaning of this order of the devas going.
So Maharaj, it says that first it says Brahma appeared as Yaksha, and then it said in the same space Uma appeared. So is that referring to what Sri Ramakrishna used to say, Brahman and his power are one and the same?
Yeah, in Shankaracharya also mentions that. Shankaracharya also mentions that. Actually, Shankaracharya says the Yaksha, the venerable luminous being, is none other than Brahma. In its with its power, with its power of Maya, same Brahma with its power of Maya, which is always feminine, the power of Sattva, Raja, and Tama, they appear as visible something, you know. So there is a deep mysticism in it. We shall see later on, okay, when we shall try to find out the message of the entire story. Message of the entire story. So okay, any no more question or no more ideas?
There was a visual image though that changed. So I think that is what we will learn, the significance of Uma coming, because it was a definite visual overpowering
Hmm.
vision.
Yaksha. Hmm.
Very different from just
How do I pronounce it?
Yaksha who had been there.
Yeah, Yaksha was really luminous, at the same time was awe-inspiring, you know, awe-inspiring figure, Yaksha. In his place, Uma was very charming, beautiful, also luminous.
The gender changed.
Yaksha, that we have to see in the mantra. Yaksha represents, Yaksha is actually, I think, neuter gender. In the mantras, Yaksha has been used as a neuter gender, and Uma is feminine.
Swami, it's interesting that none of the devas admitted defeat. They still had their pride.
Indeed, and that's why they returned. Of course, they said we could not ascertain, you know, that is, we could not fulfill the purpose for which we were sent. Okay, that's a good point. They, as soon as they failed in their power, they did not choose to stay and pray or request Yaksha to reveal who Yaksha was. Who Yaksha was, right?
Well, humiliation is a real powerful thing. So, sometimes it stops people from going forward once they're humiliated. Yeah.
Right.
So Yaksha wasn't trying to humiliate Indra by leaving. He was leaving so that Uma could come. Is that right?
Indeed.
Okay.
Indeed. I mean, you may think of it was a test by Yaksha that
Okay.
I disappear, and what is Indra's reaction?
Mm-hmm.
That whether Indra stays on to understand, no, And Uma comes, and to Uma, Indra was humble enough to ask Uma that Indra needs help in understanding
Okay.
who Yaksha is. Okay.
Okay.
There could be very many underlying meanings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Many underlying meanings. Yeah. Or it may also suggest that Indra was very much determined to understand who Yaksha is. Yaksha disappeared, right? Uma came. Indra could have asked, "Who are you?" The beautiful one. Instead,
Mm-hmm.
Indra asked Uma to reveal who Yaksha is. So many things.
Okay.
Indra could understand that Uma, this wonderful, exceedingly beautiful lady, is also not someone ordinary. Probably she is the gateway, door to understanding who Yaksha was. Yaksha is.
Hmm.
So he was humble enough to, at the very beginning, to ask Uma who Yaksha is. Secondly, um, he did not deviate from his goal of ascertaining who Yaksha is.
Okay.
All right.
Swami,
Yes,
Swami.
yes,
So
Paul.
I'm reminded of part of in Isa Upanishad where it says, "Remove your solar brilliance so that I can see your true form," which
Right.
immediately precedes "I am the same thing."
Yes,
And so that's has a parallel in this myth that we're learning today, because the Yaksha was this brilliant,
luminous.
mysterious being whose
Right,
nature could not be ascertained.
right.
And so in becoming Uma, it
Mm,
takes on a form that is more relatable to the
mm,
worshiper.
right. More gracious, more graceful, more graceful, more gracious. Yeah. I did not occur to me the Isha Upanishad thing. Thank you for helping me to connect.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't Indra feminine?
No, Indra is a masculine. Indra, not Indra. It is Indra. Indra.
Indra.
Oh, I see.
Indra.
Okay. Hmm.
Indra,
Indra.
Agni, Vayu, all of them are masculine gods, masculine in their usage. Okay. All right.